o'clock, the meeting of the city school board will come to order. Mike, you want to call roll?
Jason Schaffner.
Here.
Linda Meyer.
Here.
Andy Cross.
Here.
Bob Smith.
Here.
Michelle Watt.
Here.
All present.
Okay, want to join us for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tiffany, do we have any visitors today?
Yes, with us we have Karen Utley, Sherry Ward, Robert Elliott, Diane Elliott, Robert Elliott Jr., Twyla Swiger, Jerome Swiger, Deanne Clayton Cavelli, John Young, McGibbon, Chris Conley, Ernie Jones, Ashley Sproul, Siobhan Puckett, Douglas Jackson, Brooke Gessler, Scott Dorsey, and Bill Inkey.
Do you have any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda? Stand still. Tiffany, do we have any public participation?
Yes, we have a few people that would like to speak publicly. First up is Deanne Clayton Cavelli. Podium over there.
Okay, thank you.
For those who's going to participate, when you get to the podium, say your name and your address. You have 3 minutes to speak. And it'll be on the board there, your timer. Okay?
My name is Deanne Clayton Cavelli, and my address is 513 Fernwood Drive in Troy, Ohio. And I am here tonight to read words of a Sidney City School student. She wanted this to be transparent, so she wanted me to do it here. These words are not going to be easy to hear, not easy to say. Sidney City Schools, a place where kids go to get an education and to make friends, right? Wrong. Sidney City Schools is so corrupt. Many of my friends, including I, have been harassed, bullied, and bullied online because of Sidney City students. Some people may say it's online, it doesn't have to deal with the school, but it does. What we do outside of school affects inside school life. The head of the school is in everyone's business unless it has something to do with them. I was bullied and manipulated by so many students, but when brought it up, it was swept under the rug like it was nothing. Sidney picks and chooses what they take care of as long as it doesn't affect their income. It doesn't bother them. My friend, who has been asked to be unnamed, was expelled by Sidney City Schools because she stuck up for herself against a perverted teacher that she felt was uncomfortable with and did not trust him. I was told that he rubbed her back and another student's back multiple times and would just stare at them. I would not want to go to school and get harassed by a teacher that I'm supposed to trust and ask for guidance, but when called out, it was swept under the rug. I was bullied multiple times by students because of how my parents were raised or how they act now, or even the death of my uncle. My friends and I are asked multiple times a day by 18-year-old students for nudes, and if we decline, we get harassed by them. It is so disgusting to see how many girls have to be harassed, sexually assaulted, or even raped just for something to get done. I've had so many people come to me and say they don't feel safe going to Sidney, wondering if they'll get harassed or even beat up just because they looked at someone. It is so disgusting to see officers that work for Matthew's case say that there was no bullying at Sidney schools. It turns my stomach and makes me want to throw up. I sit there and lie. You have to be rich, or do I have to have super known last name, or you don't mean shit at that school? School wonders why we're depressed and why we don't want to come to school. It's because people suck the motivation out of students because they know that if they go to school, they'll get bullied and nothing will happen again over and over and over until they have a breaking point and they try to commit suicide. But the school will wonder why. I know so many people that have severe depression because of bullying and harassment that goes into Sidney, but nothing gets done, so they have to deal with it, and that depression bottles up and you can't deal with it anymore. But hey, why tell someone when you know that nothing gets done?
5 seconds left.
Well, okay, I'll skip all this other stuff. And I will say that I called the FBI cyberbullying line today and found that regardless of this student's age, the one who's doing the bullying, he has performed criminal acts. The FBI today asked me several times to make a report. It's not my place. So I let the student know what they said, and she'll have to deal with that on her own accord. Now, I have been a local advocate for human sex trafficking since 2018. I've been on the board of directors for the Sidewalk Soldiers, who is a group out of Dayton, and these are former sex addict women, sex trafficked women, and they go to the streets to try to get women off the streets. Now,
I'm gonna cut you off because I can't really give you more time than I can't give anybody else.
okay.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I hate to cut you off, but I can't, it's not
I have
fair.
a packet over here.
Okay.
But I just want to tell you that working in the sex traffic industry to curb that with what this child is saying, I see a lot of red flags that could lead a child into sex trafficking, having to do with,
Again, I hate to cut you off.
well, having to do with their self-esteem. That's the number one action that will get a child into sex trafficking.
But as a blanket statement, if there's criminal activity, you need to take that to law enforcement. That's not a school thing, that's a,
Well,
take it to
that's
law
what I was gonna say, the common denominator for all these,
that would be the next place to go.
right, well, the common denominator for all these messages that I'm getting from students is Sidney schools. So they don't have anything to do with these kids outside of school, but they see them in school every day. So I'm not your enemy at this point,
If it's criminal, take it to the court.
which we're in that process now.
We have John Young, I believe. John? No, you don't want to put public, okay.
Could you please pass?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ernie Jones.
First of all, good evening. I'll stay the script. On occasion, I get off script. My name is Ernie Jones. I'm a graduate of, I mentioned Longfellow Elementary School as well as Sidney High School, and teacher, coach in Sidney. And back again, I pastor at New Life Church in Port Jefferson. Good evening to all of you. And I'd like to share with you, I'm here as a representative of CORE, Council of Religious Education. And number one, and I'll repeat it a little bit later, I want to thank the superintendent, Mr. Humble, I'm sorry. I coached with a Hubble. The principals, Longfellow and Emerson Elementary for working together and cooperating to arrange the 100th year anniversary of a student release partnership arrangement this is with parental concern for all students that are interested, no tax dollars, and all volunteer staff for helping us come to a resolution how we could continue the program for the 100th year, 2021-22. Thank you very much, each of you, for the work that you did and the ideas. We are still working on some of the logistics that need to take place, but together, I think we can come together and provide for the children, as we've just heard some things. This is something that does change and make a difference in character. Positive moral choices, also to gain purpose for their lives. These are things I'm speaking from experience. I still remember Longfellow Elementary School, Mrs. Cow. What a wonderful person, and a lot of people in here likely would express the same view. I think a lot of those things, I can still see her. I spoke at her funeral. A wonderful person. And a lot of that I got from the teachers and I got from the CORE program. So thank you again for that. This will help children in the community. leaders, peers, to respect them. And also to share through music, through games, crafts, to build a strong character in themselves and in others, because those things transfer. Number 3, again, above all, I want to thank the administration, the Board of Education, those who participated, and CORE itself for doing this program for 99 years, probably the oldest in the state of Ohio. It's assumed started in 1921, if you can imagine. Thank you for allowing this to be something, coordinating the arrangement with us, so that families, children need a lot of the kindness and the things that are offered during that. Gentleness, fruit of the Holy Spirit, love, compassion, faith. Those are the types of things that are offered through that program. Thank you for caring enough for the children to do something about that. We appreciate it very much. We'll continue to work with you as we work on those logistics. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm a Mrs. Cal alumni.
I'm sorry, I got distracted because I too am a Mrs. Cal alumni. And I was thinking about how many years Mrs. Cal had been around then. Sorry, Doug Jackson, did you want to speak publicly?
I would.
My name is Douglas Jackson. I live at 725 South Main here in Sidney. Did you know you're all racist? Did you know that? According to critical race theory that the Biden administration is pushing into our public schools, your whiteness makes you automatically a racist. 1619 project, that's been going on for some time. These are really turbulent times that we're facing. I thank God that we've got some smart people in Columbus that have, last month, they have proposed HB 327, which is going to forbid this type of racist rhetoric going into our public schools. It's not just critical race theory. We're talking about 1619 project. There's a whole slew of these things that are out there. And the left, all they want to do is divide us. They want us at each other's throat because that's the way they can control us. So be aware, this sort of stuff is going to try to be pushed into our schools. But I thank God that there's some legislators in Columbus that have proposed a bill that is going to put a stop to it in Ohio. So far, 11 states have passed this kind of legislation to forbid this type of rhetoric being taught to our kids. Now, as far as I understand, that's primary and secondary schools. It does not apply to colleges and universities, I believe, but let's hope it goes beyond that also. On the taking that a little step further, I also gave you a copy of President Trump's commentary. He's got a 6-step program about how we as an American people can push back against this kind of divisive rhetoric that's going on and poisoning our schools and our young people. Because the people that are running this country now are the same jerks that I went to school with back in the 60s. They never left the university, and now they're in academia, and they're running the show. I saw it back then, or I was a part of it back then. I was a part of it back then. But as you get older, you have your commitments, and I like to think that we get a little bit wiser. Thank you so much. Oh, I had time to spare. Somebody want my 25 seconds? I yield back.
That's all?
That's it. Thank you. We'll move on to MSGA, Mick. You probably got one more 3 minutes.
Yeah, I guess what do I have? Do they have any things we sent out?
Everything that I got, I provided to them in their board packet.
I might just give you,
But you're welcome to pass out.
if you don't mind, I just, yeah, at work. Just to try to help you have a visual. First of all, thank you for having us here this evening, and a lot has been going on with the possibility of a new development up at the north end of Sidney. It's located between Russell Road, I-75, and State Route 29. Two other investors and myself, I guess it was back in October of last year, we've been trying to work to see if we could get that property moving or interest in someone coming in, and the original owners weren't as receptive as we're wanting. So long story short is we reached out and made an offer on the property and acquired it. And when we acquired it, it was with the idea that, you know, as I told people, I'm not a farmer, and you know, we do plan to develop it. And we went through a lot of planning sessions to determine what's going to be the best path. You know, what does the community need? And over the last 3, 4, 5 years, and I think some of you in this room have sat in different meetings, and of course, housing has always been a critical component with growth in Sidney and Shelby County. So we first looked at trying to start this project with the commercial end of things. And if you turn to the larger fold-out 11 by 17 in there, you see the overall plat of where we have the residential component coming in off of Russell Road and a commercial component coming in right across the street from Lehman High School at the intersection there, with the hopes that Powisher Road gets extended over the railroad bridge at some point in time and ties that whole loop together to the north end of town, to the west side of town. But with the residential, when we started this process, we were going to try to emphasize work in the commercial. And at the same time, I've had a lot of discussion with the city of Sidney and others in the community about development today. I mean, development today is extremely competitive up and down the interstate. And you see more and more municipalities partnering with developers to try to make it happen. One of the real unique methods of doing that with this property, it's called a TIF. It's Tiff Financing. And of course, what happens is the property taxes that would be developed based on the increased appraised value of the property goes to pay for all the infrastructure development. So it allows the developer to sell the property at a lower cost to help attract other developers like residential home builders to come in and build homes. We are in contract negotiations with a very well-known housing development firm that comes in and builds 30 to 50 homes a year in subdivisions, and they're in Troy and Tip City and Dayton and Middletown and West Milton right now. And they're on board with wanting to come to Sidney. And to do that and to help this thing come together, we're asking for the cooperation of the other partners in the community, which is also Sidney City Schools and the board, to approve the TIF language so that we're able to offset some of the costs associated with the development costs for roads and infrastructure. And so that's, you can see the general layout there with the overall plat. Those first pages I've given you is we're really down the road. There's going to be two different, and let me also say Chris Connolly is here with our TIF law firm. And please silence your cell phones.
My boss might be a card.
But so we have a residential TIF area, which is the first page on your little handout I gave you, and the second one is where the commercial property is. We're in negotiations with some commercial folks. They're kind of wanting to wait and see what gets developed. Our hope right now, our game plan is to, we have design drawings being finished for phase 1 residential. Our hope is to obtain earthwork prices the month of July and start moving dirt in August of this year, with new homes being built next spring, April, May timeframe. But to do all this, I know that we know that the city is on board, but again, City Schools is a player, is a partner in this too. And so, again, any questions that you might have with Tiff I'll let Chris handle that, and I'll let him come up and say a few words about the Tiff, so that you can maybe have a better understanding of those. But they're used quite frequently up and down the interstate, and it's time we bring one of these to Sidney and help some new development get started. So, with that.
It's not tip specific, but if Osher were to be completed, we have it drawn here, does it connect in where 4th Avenue comes?
Yes, right at the traffic light there.
Yeah, just trying to get.
Auto view.
Now, Mick, I got a question for you. And it doesn't have to do with TIF, but on this subdivision, are there gonna be like covenants or anything for like
Yeah,
brick 4 sides?
it's not gonna be that, but it's gonna have covenants, absolutely. It's also gonna have an HOA, so that the residents there will pay into an HOA, because there's gonna be ponds, that's gonna be in there. There's gonna be common area that has to be mowed and maintained. So it's gonna be a HOA subdivision with strict covenants. Ryan Holmes, oops, I wasn't gonna say their name. Scratch that. They have different packages.
Right.
We're looking at their lower level package to try to entice first home buyers,
And that's
beginning
why,
families.
because I didn't want to see a nice
There's
subdivision.
gonna be some masonry on them, but it's not around the home.
Right.
There's gonna be a little, we went down and saw one of their subdivisions that they're gonna build the same kind of homes up here in Middletown. And they were very nice. I was pleasantly pleased with what they look like and how they look.
Are they all individual or are there some doubles or condos?
There's gonna be, this layout shows 220, I think, single family residential lots. There is a place in the one corner, there's 2 places it's locating that shows multifamily homes, but that can cover a lot of things. What there won't be in this subdivision is low income housing. But it will be, that multifamily could be in the back corner. There could be a few doubles back there, or there could also be senior living facilities coming in. So. All right, Chris, you want to? Sure. Thank you for your time and hopeful support.
Evening, board members. Chris Conley with Taft Law. I'm out of Columbus. And I appreciate you giving us the time to talk a little bit about this project. I'll be brief. It sounds like, and to the extent you have questions about, basic questions about what TIF is, I'm happy to answer that. It sounds like the board is aware of how it's used and has seen it before. What we are asking for here is, you know, the maximum TIF is 30 years, 100%. What we're proposing here, and it's sized in a way that really pays for the infrastructure, is still a 30-year term, but it's 75%, with the idea that that allows the infrastructure to get built while still allowing the public partners to benefit from the increase in the property value. And obviously, once that TIF expires, it will all be taxable. I obviously understand that the district has a school district income tax that was recently put on the ballot. Obviously, having residents there would be beneficial to those tax revenues. And you know, really, this land as it sits right now, at agricultural value, really produces next to nothing in the way of property taxes. Here, even before the development starts, with the jump up to market value, that would result in additional tax income for the schools. So we appreciate obviously the partnership with the school district and everyone in the community. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Tell us, or tell the community here that's listening, what effect does that have on the school taxes?
What it would mean is, well, first of all, there's a couple different concepts at play. Right now, this is valued at its agricultural value. Once it's converted and no longer used for agricultural purposes, that value will bump up immediately to the market value. That's not TIF, that's not exempted, that's an immediate benefit. So that's an increase in property tax revenues to the schools. Obviously, property taxes are a big piece of the school funding piece, and a big piece of what helps the school put a budget together. What the TIF does is, once you reach that sort of base level, any increase in value there, rather than those property taxes going and being distributed out to the various taxing units that are in the community, 75% of those will go into a special fund and be used for public infrastructure improvement. 25% of those will go to the schools, to the county, to the city of Sidney, to all the different public partners in the community. And we're running some simple numbers. I think we were estimating that a full build out for the schools, even that 25% piece would be over $150,000 a year in property taxes just from that 25% piece. I think right now it's generating under agriculture something like $3,000 a year or something like that. So even with the tool in place, it really is a beneficial project financially for the public.
After the 30 years, you have a number of what that will be?
I knew you were going to ask that. Well, let's see, you have any math teachers? I bring my calculator. That's 25%.
You really can't answer it until you know what the increased value of the commercial.
And it's all, that's all based on estimates. The auditor's going to value it how it values it, but you're going to have a nice asset that's going to be a nice tax producing asset for sure.
How does the TIF interact with any incentives that commercial businesses may?
Very good question. In this particular case, because we would be looking to obtain financing based on the TIF, my understanding and what I would presume is that the TIF would take priority over those other exemptions unless the city of Sidney agreed otherwise. Now, there are rules in place as to which exemptions take priority, and it's based on who files exemption applications. Those are things that will get hammered out as the financing takes shape. But there's certainly nothing, assuming that the numbers work, there's nothing that's precluding the city from offering some sort of tax abatement or something, depending on the user. I'm not sure. A lot of that depends on the user, the job level, and things like that. Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you, and we appreciate it. I was at a city council meeting complaining about the same thing. Housing market is kind of dead around here, and Anna actually putting on another housing subdivision. The city's missing out, and a housing subdivision like this is a win-win for everybody. It's a big win-win for the schools, and the way the housing market's on fire now, it's making $100,000 homes into $200,000 homes, and because we ain't got enough houses. This is definitely a must. Sure.
Okay, thank you. The gentleman that spoke first, the comment came out that, oh, you want me at the podium?
No, he's right there.
Oh, yeah. The gentleman that spoke first is, I know that there has been now during the presentation, it was commented that there would be no low-income housing there. Well, I also know that there is a push at the federal level that's going to mandate different developments will have low-income housing. Has this been taken into account that during this construction phase or during some point that some federal regulation could be implemented and incorporated at a minimum construction to what their plan is?
I've not heard of any kind of legislation where they can come in and do property grab. We own it. We can develop how we wish to develop it.
It's a zoning issue.
It's private. Well, zoning is approved.
zoning's in place for single family and just the way the plat is.
It might be something you might want to take a look at. Might want to be interested to- Forewarned is forearmed.
Okay. Thanks for the question.
Okay. We're gonna go ahead and move this up, so that way you guys can, I won't put your leg up.
I got ice it.
Yes.
It's icing time.
Where's that there, Mike?
It's held, under my section.
Okay, I need a motion to move the MSGA TIF agreement.
I'll second.
Andy, Linda, any discussion?
Just for clarification, this is not only accepting what we've been given from the city, but also the waiving of the mandatory periods of time, correct?
Right, the city gave us their next basin was the ordinance that they will be passing. And all this is it all kind of happens all at one time. Keep everything on schedule for one, but what we're approving is the resolution that reads, resolution waiving required notices from the city of Sidney, Ohio, in connection with two tax increment financing ordinances passed by city council. Those are the ones that you received. Approving the exemptions to be provided pursuant to the tax increment financing ordinances and making related authorizations. And then it goes down through all the whereas and so forth. So this is the resolution that we're passing in reference to the ordinances that we're adding to your agenda.
And just for clarification, Mike, you've reviewed all of this, and you also agree that it would be a net benefit for the school district, correct?
This, absolutely. I honestly have been through several conversations. I don't see how this is anything but good for the city, school district, offers so many good qualities and good things that this will be a great benefit to everybody involved. No, we're just acting in a different order. It's still part of the agenda.
Any other questions? Mike, want to call roll?
Croft.
Yes.
Meininger.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Lott.
Yes.
Schaffner.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Where's that elevator? Back that way.
Yeah.
In the hallway, it'll be just like, right?
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Okay. Okay. Good. Thank you.
All right, Mike, you want to do the treasury report?
Absolutely. Okay, the first item, minutes, financial reports and invoices paid. I'd like to request a motion to approve those minutes, financial reports and invoices paid as presented.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Bob, second. Michelle?
Just a couple brief items, and I do need brief on this month. There was really not much activity that changed the course of our financials for the end of May. We've got 1 month left in this fiscal year, one we're currently in. On the revenue side, all the line items, property taxes, the state foundation, the property tax allocation, or TPP holds harmless payment, and all other revenue, all are performing better than was originally budgeted. To this point through May, we're almost 5% better than what we originally budgeted. So very, very favorable. On the expenditure side, salaries and benefits, supplies and materials, and capital outlay are all performing better than originally budgeted. Purchase services, while still lagging behind the budget, about 2.5%, was unchanged from April. And still looking, I don't see anything significant. It seems to maybe be a combination of things. I still think it's very possible that the difference is just some timing on when things were paid last year compared to this year. And this year's budget was
basically following when we paid things. So it's month by month that way. And so even while we're still a bit behind the budget, in the overall scheme of things, because of where we are falling better than budget on all the other line items, we're still going to end up well ahead of where we budgeted on the positive side for expenditures. And so overall on expenditures, we are just over 5.5%, performing better than what we originally budgeted.
You don't know of any surprises coming up.
I have been watching this for the last 2 weeks. I have seen nothing come through with, and I don't anticipate anything.
You know, like Tiffany, about $100,000 of printing costs or something.
Yeah, I've got the handcuffs on her. She's not spending any.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Mike, want to call roll?
Smith,
Yes.
Lot,
Yes.
Meininger,
Yes.
Croft,
Yes.
Schaffner.
Yep.
Motion carries. Item 2 is our school lunch prices. I'd like to request a motion to approve the following 2021-2022 school lunch and breakfast prices for students. Grades K through 5, lunch $2.45, breakfast $1, extra milk 50 cents. Grades 6 through 12, lunch $2.70, breakfast $1.50, and extra milk 50 cents.
Is that an increase?
So moved.
Thank you.
Seconded.
Ask your question, Linda.
Discussion?
It is not an increase. We maintain the same pricing that we've had for a number of years now. And honestly, at this point, I'm passing them, having these approved because we do every year at this time. And it's somewhat of a technicality so that prices are in place for next year, because as it stands now, all of next year is free.
All students, that was my
Yes.
question, what percentage is
So,
free or
but I
reduced?
didn't see that as a reason to not pass our lunch prices and have them in place. I wouldn't know why, but if that should change for some reason, everything's in place. But
Linda, you stole my question, because that's the question I ask every single year.
So you're saying including preschool through 12th grade?
Well, preschool doesn't have lunch.
Oh, okay,
They
well, I was
don't-
thinking
they
milk
don't
and
do it,
stuff
but
like that.
They don't do any of that either.
Oh, they don't,
They don't
okay.
have that. If they do, what they do is they purchase it from the cafeteria and we just rent it.
But all the other grades,
All the
free.
grades.
not even reduced. And free.
It's still carryover from this year's COVID
Yeah.
impact and all those types of things, so.
But if they would want more than what their free lunch, they could pay for more. rent.
Which is part of the a la carte menu. Correct.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mike, want to call roll?
Smith,
Yes.
Meininger,
Yes.
Lot,
Yes,
Croft.
Yes.
Schaffner.
Yep.
Motion carries. Item 3 are our temporary appropriations. I'd like to request a motion to approve the temporary appropriations for fiscal year 22 in the amount of 25% of FY 21 appropriations.
Have a motion? Is there a second? Andy? Any discussion?
I think I saw one of these last year.
This is the housekeeping that we do every year this year, and they are always 25% of the prior year's appropriation.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mike, want to call roll?
Meininger,
Yes.
Croft,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lot,
yes,
Schaffner.
Yep.
Motion carries. Run out in my office and get my public thing right here. This in because my battery is fading. Sorry, I'm getting a new device. There's a problem with my battery. It's not lasting as long, so. Item D are our amended appropriations. I'd like to request a motion to approve the following amended appropriations for fiscal year 21, to authorize any other amendments as needed for the fiscal year end with approval by the superintendent. The bond retirement fund, 002, $15,000. Termination Benefits Fund, 035, $215,000. Esser Funds, Fund 507, $2,616,083.89. And Title I, the Supplemental School Improvement, Fund 536, $18,149.67.
You have a motion? Andy, I got a second?
Second.
Michelle? Any discussion?
Yes. On mine, the termination benefits says 100,000. Did I miss the new one
It got
that you
updated,
sent out?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And so just a little bit of explanation. Particularly the large ones, the Termination Benefits Fund is for those payments for retired, for severance payments. And at the beginning of the year, that's just an estimate, not having any idea how many people are going to retire. And we had a few more than were expected, just because some of the changes over the course of the year. Some of the aides ended up retiring, the secretary retired, just some things. So it's not unusual. We'll make that transfer to cover that. The very large one is our Esser II funding. And so this is basically the entire amount that is part of that fund. And for this, during this fiscal year yet, we had to approve those funds to be able to be spent. We're not going to spend that entire amount, but I'm going to have to just approve the entire amount. And on the last one, Title I Supplemental Improvement, and on that one, we actually received this additional funds in an update in April. They added new funds to it. So this is in addition to what was originally approved at the beginning of the year, which was $65,000. But again, in order to be able to spend it, we have to approve it.
And the ESSER funds are funds that can only be used for certain.
Correct. This is that Coronavirus Relief Act. Those funds come from that.
Any other discussions? Hearing none, Mike, want to call the roll?
Rob?
Yes.
Bott?
Yes.
Meininger?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
And Schaffner?
Yep.
I'm okay, yeah. Okay, item E. Like, it's a resolution to advertise and receive bids for bus purchase. The motion is whereas the Sidney City Schools Board of Education wishes to advertise and receive bids for the purchase of one or more school buses. Therefore, be it resolved, the Sidney City Schools Board of Education wishes to participate and authorize the Southwestern Ohio Educational Purchasing Council to advertise and receive bids on said board's behalf as per the specifications submitted by the cooperative purchase of one school bus.
You have a motion?
So moved.
A second.
Linda? Discussion?
And Mike, this is just a request for bids, not to actually purchase.
Correct.
Correct?
We participate in this each year. We do have a plan to purchase a bus again this coming year as part of our rotation as buses get older and require more service and so forth. But this does not commit us to actually making a purchase. It just allows us to participate in the program, which there's just no better way to get pricing. The EPC probably goes out for bid. There's 40+ school districts involved. Many participate annually. And so the bids that they receive because of the volume of buses to be purchased is, really good.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mike, want to call it?
Smith,
Yes.
Meininger,
Yes.
Croft,
Yes.
Lot,
Yes.
Schaffner.
Yep.
Motion carries. Item F is a health services. Health services contract. I'd like to request a motion to approve a contract with Sidney Shelby County Board of Health to provide health services for the 2021-2022 school year at a rate of $37 per hour.
Do I have a motion?
I'll second.
Linda? Any discussion?
I'll ask my next question.
We approve this annually, and there is no change from the hourly rate from last year.
That's your question. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mike McCollum.
Croft.
Yes.
Meiger.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Lot.
Yes.
Schaffner.
Yep.
Motion carries. Item F is a purchase services agreement with the MRESC. I'd like to request a motion to approve the core services agreement and the following individual service agreements with the Midwest Regional Educational Service Center for the 2021-2022 school year. Early Childhood Intervention Specialist Services at a cost of $143,244.64. Speech Language Therapist Services at a cost of $227,430.35. Occupational Therapist Services at a cost of $135,386.76. Juvenile Court Liaison Services at a cost of $23,093.39. Instructional Assistant Services at a cost of $1,016,851.74. Opportunity Schools Services, Opportunity Summer School Services at a cost of $4,501.24. CPI Blended Learning Initial and Refresher Training Services at a rate of $69.08 per hour. And then Whittier Summer Work, various per hour rates dependent on the employee.
Do I have a motion? Cheryl, second?
Second.
Bob? Any other discussion?
Some of these costs are much different from last year.
These, so for last year, we had used intervention specialist, speech language, and occupational therapists. These are the services we use in the preschool. The speech language is also there. Juvenile courts used throughout the district. Instructional assistance services, those are the aides that are now being employed by the SC. And so any of the increases are going to be due to the natural increases in their salary schedule. Which there were some this year, but on the aides, obviously that's less than what we would be paying, but we employ them directly.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mike McCollum.
Lot.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Croft.
Yes.
Meininger.
Yes.
Schaffner.
Yep.
There we go. Just in time. The next item is a purchase services agreement with Montgomery County ESC.
Do I have a motion? Linda? Second, my man, any discussion?
Yeah, give me some specifics on this because there's no numbers and no documentation.
I will. As soon as I come back up. Okay, I'll talk about this to start with. Many times, I'm not sure why we don't have it currently. We've had fewer and fewer services there. It could be that they don't know what services are going to be offered. It's been for some hearing impaired here lately. And I haven't received the actual document. So what I'm doing now is approving the agreement to have services with them. And then I can come back to you with what they have. It may very well be that they're not anticipating anything at this point.
We'll eventually have another thing that we have to approve. with
I'll have you, this is so that we can put things in place so that we have it. And then I come back with the actual agreement later, but I'm just trying to keep ahead of it so that at least doesn't get missed to prove that to have the services with them.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mike McCollum.
Right to.
Sorry.
As soon as I'm back up here. Sorry about that.
Linda, you should let you know, you should.
I know, I wanted to sign it in.
afraid you would aggravate that whole pickleball injury.
Don't remind me about that.
NCIS comes on at 8.
Working on it, yeah.
NCIS,
The regular. Yes.
regular class.
My only life.
Wow.
I know.
It's your only life.
Only life I got.
We need a Jeopardy music.
With that,
Jeopardy music.
Probably can pull that up pretty quick.
that's right. Closing the meeting.
Going by too fast. I'm not ready for this.
Is he going away somewhere?
Anymore.
Really?
Loyal.
You're not going to see him right.
I'm not gonna see it very often. No, not really prepared for living in denial at the moment.
Go to Saints games.
Right, we'll have to ask Ken to call the motion in a second.
Just Linda and me.
Linda, man.
Thank you. Okay. I'm ready. So, Meininger,
Yes.
Croft,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lot,
Yes.
Schaffner.
Yep.
The next item is our security officers. I'd like to request a motion to enter into an agreement with the attached list of reserve officers for school security for the 2021-2022 school year in accordance with board policy and the treasurer's recommendation at a rate of $18 per hour and $5 per hour premium paid to program coordinator.
So motion.
Moved.
Bob,
Second.
Michelle.
The rate we did not change this year. We're still, looking at negotiations with OC and SCA, and we don't know the direction that we're going that way. So we felt it was prudent to keep their rate at the same. We can always come back later and amend it if we need to. And we're still including the $5, I may not include it next year, the $5 per hour premium paid with, we do not have a program coordinator in place again for this year.
So, Mike, I didn't compare this with previous years. All the officers in the buildings are the same ones from the previous year. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Are there any additions to the substitutes that were not on last year's?
They are fluid. They change from year to year. Occasionally some go off, some new come on. There were 2 or 3 new ones this year from
So my follow-up to that will
Yes.
be the new ones, have they been fully integrated with procedures in the school buildings?
they all go through the sheriff's department, who coordinates all the officers who are going to be working in the building. So I'm going to say yes from that standpoint because they manage and those individuals are in the building.
Could you follow up with the sheriff just to make sure?
Mhm.
Because I'd hate for us to have a new person on the day that something were to happen.
So all of these salaries come from the general fund, not from a grant.
For the reserve officers, that's correct. Yes.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mike, you want to call?
Smith,
Yes.
Lot,
Yes.
Croft,
Yes.
Meininger,
Yes.
Schaffner. Motion carries. Next item is the NWEA MAP renewal. I'd like to request a motion to approve the 3-year renewal, 7/1/2021 through 6/30/2024 of measures of academic progress, MAP, through NWEA at a cost of $70,380.
The motion.
Second.
Mandy and Michelle?
This is a program we've been using for how long now, Brooke? 5 years. And as Brooke and I discussed, it's been very beneficial, and we are definitely going to be needing to use it for at least the next 3 years. Jump in anytime, Brooke. And by signing a multi-year contract, we were able to save the money from the annual subscription.
So I saw there was a number of students, if I remember correctly, it was something like 2040 that was in the contract. If that were for some reason to increase or decrease, would we be able to adjust this during the terms?
Significant changes they do, yes. We have students move in also. So they usually don't charge us per student if we don't lose any kids. But if the number changes, like I said, drastically, there'll be some adjustments.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. Mike, on the call roll?
Cross.
Yes.
Watt.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Flanagan.
Yes.
Schaffner. Yep. Motion carries. And the last item for me, transfer of funds. I'd like to request a motion for the following transfers. Up to $50,000 from the Student Wellness and Success Funds 467 to the Latchkey Fund 020 to fund current year expenditures. To transfer the balance of the OHSAA Tournament Fund 022 to Stadium Facilities Fund 018 at the close of fiscal year 2021, and to transfer $215,000 from the General Fund 001 to the Termination Benefits Fund Severance 035.
No motion.
Awesome.
Linda, second.
Second.
Mandy? Any discussion?
As of the end of today, in Latchkey, it was going to be around a little over 32,000 that we would need to transfer. And so the student wellness and success that we had the last couple of years, we received additional funding this year, and it qualifies to be able to be used for those types of programs. So, and hopefully, if that's proposed to possibly be in the next couple of year budgets, that'll be available should we continue to need to support Latchkey. It has improved. I mean, the first year we used whole 50,000. And there've been some improvements. COVID kind of put a glitch in things before, so we haven't had a real good normal year to see if they can continue to make improvements and get more participation in that. But having these funds available is great. The OHSAA, that fund is where all the monies go when we host OHSAA sanctioned tournaments, which we do a number of those. And there was about an $8,000 excess that we get to keep. So we'll move that to our stadium facilities that we use for any kind of improvements, repairs to track facility, the actual stadium, those types of things. And then, of course, the last one is for the severance payments that we'll be making.
And it's not really germane to this actual motion that's on the floor, so I probably shouldn't bring it up. It's been a while since we've heard from Paige. We set that up for, if she has an open time, maybe at a future board meeting, she can give us a presentation.
Sure, yeah, I think it should be more than that.
Because I think that's an important community service. Just like to hear how it's going.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. Mike, you want to call?
Flanagan.
Yes.
Croft.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Watt.
Yes.
Schaffner.
Yep.
Motion carries.
Mr.
Oh, is it my turn?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 79%, I'm good. Request a motion to approve the personnel items as presented, pending proper certification and paperwork.
Do a motion? Second. Linda? Any discussion?
Yeah, are any of the individuals present?
Actually, I do have someone present that I wanted to introduce. Janelle Love Allen, would you step up and kind of just wave to everybody? Our new special ed director, and we're so excited to have her here with us in Sidney.
Welcome aboard. Well, not yet. I mean, yeah. Linda might vote no on you. Poor Linda. Any other discussion?
What's the district registrar secretary?
So that we're kind of retooling the receptionist position into that. So it's just basically kind of a retooling of that position. We're not adding anyone, we're just kind of revamping what they do.
Two related things. Was the proposed new assistant AD appropriately vetted?
Yes,
Okay, because it might be a little shaky back there.
I understand. He's hiding back there in the corner.
I was worried. And number two, related to that, is there something we're planning on doing as a district for Mrs. Williams for all the thousands of hours she's contributed to our district?
I'm not aware of anything, but if I knew Maggie, she probably would not want it. But that doesn't mean we still couldn't do something.
Okay. I think it might be appropriate because that's been a lot of years. But the new AD, I'm sure with a little work, assistant AD.
Associate.
Associate AD.
Let's get his title right, because you'll be very disappointed if we don't get it right.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mike, will call roll?
Smith,
Yes.
Leininger,
Yes.
Croft,
Yes.
Lot,
Yes.
Schaffner. Motion carries.
Next, I'd like a motion to approve Bill Anthony to the UBCC board for the term of June 1st, 2021 through December 31st.
Do a motion?
So
Linda? Any discussion? Bill, are you sure?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Look forward to it.
Thank you, Bill.
Any discussion, Mike, will call roll?
Lot,
yes.
Leininger,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Croft.
Yes.
Schaffner.
Yep.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
And I'd like to request a motion to approve a one-year agreement with Republic Services for trash disposal services for the attached renewal prices effective August 1st, 2021.
Do a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Michelle? Any discussion? Hearing none, Mike,
So
will
I
call
was
roll?
gonna say that normally doesn't fall under me, but it was there, so.
Is this something Mike took on himself
Yes.
to review?
Yeah, that's just what he does. He looks at stuff annually, and he started researching, found that there were more visits that weren't needed. It wasn't getting full, those kind of things, and they just sat down, they went through and they reworked it and come up with a new schedule that actually saves us some money.
Would you pass along? Thanks.
I will. You have the board.
My one job and I'm failing.
Well, you weren't officially assigned that task, now you are.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mike, will call roll?
Smith,
Yes.
Lot,
Yes.
Croft.
Yes.
Leininger,
Yes.
Schaffner.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mr. Smith, the legislation report?
Yeah, this is a short one. There's a lot of activity going on. But it's a lot of submittal of new stuff that I'm kind of holding off until it gets a little bit of motion or movement on it. And of course, the biennium, the House and the Senate haven't agreed, and so they're trying to reconcile, so I'm not saying anything about that. However, House Bill 82, I've not mentioned this one before. It's a bill that creates an opt-out for students in the 11th or 12th grade from the state requirement to take the ACT or SAT. And it was not on my radar, but the House passed it 94-0 this last month. So it'll now move on to the Senate. The next one is Senate Bill 1. This is a bill which requires students who enter the 9th grade for the first time on or after July 1st, 2021 to take half unit of instruction in the study of financial literacy. The bill passed the Senate last month, and the House Primary and Secondary Education Committee has started holding hearings on it, so that continues to move. And Senate Bill 135. This is a new one that I haven't mentioned before, but this bill requires school districts to include in career advising policies information on career fields which require associate degrees and certificates, provide information on Reserve Officers Training Corps, ROTC, and requires school districts to adopt a policy on free speech that includes a process for a student or teacher to file a complaint due to a violation of the policy. Anyway, the bill passed the Senate by a vote of 30-2, so it will now move on to the House. And that's all I have, and hopefully, Mike, you can see the document.
Yep. Thank you, Bob. UVCC report, Michelle?
On May 24th, the UVCC held its regular board meeting. Board President Joyce Reeves mentioned that the board will be doing the evaluations of the treasurer and superintendent within the next 2 to 4 weeks. Executive sessions will be held to discuss each evaluation. Mr. Hawk, the superintendent, recognized 4 local businesses with the OSBA Business Honor Roll Award for their contributions to the UVCC in 2021. The 4 companies that were honored are Honda of America Manufacturing and Engine Plant, Sheet Metal Workers Local 24, Grunder Landscaping Company, and Whirlpool Corporation. Mr. Hawk also mentioned that the visit from the Lieutenant Governor, John Houston, went very well, and that the Lieutenant Governor complimented the Career Center on being an outstanding school. It was stated that during this school year, 490 students and 52 staff members either had or were in close contact with someone suffering from the COVID virus. If a student missed school due to COVID, the absence did not disqualify him or her from any type of an award, such as perfect attendance. Mr. Gibson gave the board an update on the welding project. It is on schedule and should be finished by the end of July. He also asked the board to approve a purchase order for not more than $55,000 for a storage building at Willowbrook. Mr. Fraley gave his treasurer's report, including the 5-year forecast. He asked the board to approve an advance of $75,000 from the general fund to the adult education fund, and also to approve a new 507 fund to be used for the remote EDX industry credentials grant. The Career Center received a $15,000 grant for equipment, training, and curriculum for the next 2 years. The board approved an agreement with Nexus New Creation Counseling Center in the amount not to exceed $55,000 for the mental health counseling for all students. We also approved the revisions to and the additions of board policies and regulations, accepted 5 donations in addition to 21 donations to be used for the perfect attendance drawing. Finally, the board approved new contracts, renewal contracts, modified contracts, restoration of a contract, substitute employment renewals, supplemental contracts, stipends, adult ed employment, 1 retirement, 3 resignations, and a list of volunteers for the 21-22 school year.
Thank you, Michelle.
I did have one more thing. I wanted to let everyone know that the Woody Early Childhood Center has officially been named a 5-star rated preschool, and it's now official, and we can talk about it publicly, and I think there'll probably be something coming out in the news in the next couple of days. So we're very excited about that.
That's awesome. So soon.
Good deal. Any reason to go into executive session? Hearing none, need a motion to adjourn? Mandy, was a second? Discussion? Now, Mike will call roll.
Crum.
Yes.
Meininger.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Locke.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Motion.
Being adjourned.